And hello, everybody, and welcome back to Michael Reads, uh, a place where timeless works are not simply explored but absorbed and applied. I hope you all have had a good week. Um, it's got off to a good start and followed after a great weekend. Today, we move deeper into meditations. We're arriving at book 11, a section that feels more sharpened, more deliberate, and far more confronting than what has come before. In this part of the text, Marcus Aurelius turns his focus towards human behavior, examining how we interact with others, how easily our composure is disturbed, and how often we allow ourselves to drift away from reason without even noticing it. Rather than presenting abstract ideas, this book delivers grounded instruction, offering guidance that feels just as relevant now as it did centuries ago. Um, the tone carries a quiet urgency, encouraging reflection while demanding accountability, and sets the stage for a deeper level of self examination. Sorry for that hiccup there. I'm just trying to set everything up. Okay, so before we go any further, make a decision. If you're serious about developing discipline, strengthening your mindset, and becoming more intentional with your actions, then show that commitment now. Subscribe to the channel, engage with the stream, and return consistently to these sessions. Growth does not come from occasional interest, it is built through repeated effort and conscious participation. Stay present, remove distractions, and give this your full attention. As book 11 unfolds, a strong emphasis emerges around the fragility of focus and the ease with which um, the mind can be pulled away from its purpose. External noise constantly competes for attention, while internal impulses attempt to take control, creating a state where clarity is lost and direction becomes uncertain. Marcus recognizes that allowing thoughts to wander without discipline needs leads to a scattered existence where time is fragmented and energy is wasted on things that hold no lasting value. This awareness pushes him to reinforce the importance of mental control, urging himself to remain anchored in reason rather than drifting with impulse. The underlying message invites reflections, prompting a simple but powerful question: are you consciously guiding your thinking, or are you being carried along by whatever arises in the moment? Attention then shifts toward human interaction, where Marcus addresses the challenges of dealing with people who may act out of ignorance, selfishness, or misunderstanding. Instead of responding with frustration, he adopts a perspective rooted in awareness, recognizing that individuals behave according to what they perceive as right, even when that perception is flawed. This shift removes the emotional charge from conflict, replacing irritation with patience and judgment with understanding. By acknowledging his own imperfections, he avoids placing himself above others, creating space for humility and restraint. The lesson here encourages a disciplined response, reminding us that while we cannot control how others behave, we retain full responsibility for how we choose to react. In that space, character is revealed and strengthened. Marcus continues by examining communication, placing importance on speaking with intention and avoiding unnecessary expression. Words, in his view, should serve a purpose, carrying meaning rather than filling silence. Careless speech is seen as a reflection of an undisciplined mind, while thoughtful communication demonstrates clarity and control. This approach challenges the modern tendency toward constant noise, suggesting that restraint can be far more powerful than volume. Each statement becomes an opportunity to align language with values, ensuring that what is said reflects what is believed. Through this lens, speaking less often leads to saying more of substance. A deeper theme emerges um, as Marcus reflects on the importance of living in accordance with one's nature, which he defines through reason, justice, and self discipline. Straying from these principles creates internal conflict as actions begin to contradict identity. Consistency becomes the goal, not in the sense of perfection, but through a steady effort to act in alignment with what is known to be right. This creates a sense of stability where decisions are guided by principle rather than circumstance. Living this way requires awareness, effort, and continual uh, correction, but it ultimately leads to a more grounded and purposeful existence. Another layer of insight appears as Marcus challenges the importance placed on reputation and external validation. Opinions from others are shown to be unreliable, shaped by incomplete understanding, and influenced by personal bias. Relying on such perspectives creates instability, as approval becomes inconsistent and often detached from truth. By shifting focus inward, he reinforces the idea that integrity holds greater value than image. This perspective allows for freedom, reducing the need to impress and replacing it with the intention to live honestly and act with substance. I'm just going to move this microphone. It's just getting a bit in the way. It's a little heavy, so I am just going to put it over there, and hopefully the sound just continues to be good. Yeah, please give me a shout if you can still hear me, if the sound is good. So, across these reflections, a central idea becomes clear. True strength is found in self mastery. External circumstances remain unpredictable while other people behave in ways that cannot be controlled. Yet the inner world remains within reach. Marcus consistently brings his attention back to this point, reinforcing the importance of managing thoughts, guiding actions, and maintaining discipline. Through this process, resilience is built, creating uh, stability even when faced with uncertainty. Power, in this sense, is not about influence over others, but about command over oneself. Running beneath every idea is a quieter awareness of time passing. Life is finite, and each moment carries value that cannot be reclaimed once lost. Rather than creating fear, this recognition sharpens focus, encouraging action and discouraging delay. Opportunities to act with integrity, think clearly, and live purposefully exist in the present, not in some distant future. The message is direct. Do not postpone becoming who you are capable of being. Now, with that quite detailed introduction, we will go into the reading of Book 11 of Meditations. And I'd just like to make you all aware that after this live, we will be doing one more of book 12, which is the final chapter of the book. Um, I can't believe how far we've already gone through this book, and I hope it's brought you great value and is altering your habits, your mindset, the way you handle any situations. Um, but yeah, book 11 is the second to last chapter. So if you have a copy, we are going to make a start on this book 11. Otherwise, grab yourself a drink, sit back, make yourself comfortable as I do these readings. These are the properties of the rational soul. It sees itself, analyzes itself, and makes itself such as it chooses. The fruit which it bears itself it enjoys, for the fruits of plants and that in animals, which correspond to fruits others enjoy. It obtains its own end, wherever the limit of life may be fixed. Not as in a dance and in a play and in such things, where the whole action is incomplete, if anything cuts it short, but in every part and wherever it may be stopped, it makes what has been set before it full and complete, so that it can say, I have what is my own. And further, it traverses the whole universe and the surrounding vacuum and surveys its form, and it extends itself into the infinity of time and embraces and comprehends the periodical renovation of all things, and it comprehends that those who come after us will see nothing new, nor have those before us seen anything more. But in a manner, he who is 40 years old, if he has any understanding at all, has seen by virtue of the uniformity that prevails all things, which have been and all that will be. This too is a property of the rational soul, love of one's neighbour, and truth and modesty, and to value nothing more than itself, which is also the property of law. Thus, then, right reason differs not at all from the reason of justice. You will set little value on pleasing songs and dances, if you will distribute the melody of the voice into its several sounds, and ask yourself as to each, if you have mastered this, for you will be prevented by shame from confessing it. And in the matter of dancing, if at each moment and attitude you will do the same, in all things, then, except virtue and the acts of virtue, remember to apply yourself to their several parts, and by this division to come to value them, and apply this rule also to your whole life. A soul is ready, if at any moment it must be separated from the body, and ready either to be extinguished or dispersed or continue to exist, but so that this readiness comes from a man's own judgment, not from mere stubbornness, as with the Christians, but considerately and with dignity, and in a way to persuade another without a tragic show. Have I done something for the general interest? Well, then I have had my reward. Let this always be present to your mind, and never stop doing such good. What is your art? To be good. And how is this accomplished? Well, except by general principles, some about the nature of the universe, and others about the proper constitution of man. At first, tragedies were brought on the stage as means of reminding men of the things which happen to them, and that it is according to nature for things to happen so, and that if you are delighted with what is shown on the stage, you should not be troubled with that which takes place on the larger stage of life. For you see that these things must be accomplished, and that those who cry out from these bear them. And indeed, some things are said well by the dramatic writers, the following especially: Me and my children, if the gods neglect, this has its reason too. And again, we must not scold and fret at that which happens, and life's harvest we reap like the wheat's fruitful day, and other things of the same kind. After tragedy, the old comedy was introduced, which had a magisterial freedom of speech, and by its very plainness of speaking was useful in reminding men to beware of insolence. But as to the middle comedy which came next, observe what it was, and again for what object the new comedy was introduced, which gradually sunk down into a mere mimic. Some good things are said even by these writers, everybody knows, but the whole plan of such poetry and drama, to what end does it look? How plain does it appear that there is not another condition of life so well suited for philosophizing as this, in which you now can be happy to be? A branch cut off from the adjacent branch must of necessity be cut off from the whole tree also. So too a man, when he is separated from another man, has fallen off from the whole social community. A man by his own act separates himself from his neighbor when he hates him and turns away from him, and he does not know that he has at the same time cut himself off from the whole social system. Yet he has this privilege certainly from Zeus, who framed society, for it is in our power to grow again to that which is near to us, to become part which helps to make up the whole. However, if it happens, this kind of separation makes it difficult for that which detaches itself to be brought to unity and to be restored to its former condition. Finally, the branch, which first grew together with the tree and has continued to have one life with it, is not like that which, after being cut off, is then reintegrated. For this is something like what the gardeners mean when they say that it grows with the rest of the tree, but that it has not the same mind with it. As those who try to stand in our way, when you are proceeding according to right reason, will not be able to turn you aside from your proper action. So neither let them drive you from your kind feelings towards them, but be on your guard equally in both matters, not only in the matter of steady judgment and action, but also in the matter of gentleness towards those who try to hinder or otherwise trouble you. For this also is a weakness, to be vexed at them, as well as to be diverted from your course of action and to give way through fear. There is no nature which is inferior to art, for the arts imitate the nature of things. But if this is so, that nature which is the most perfect and the most comprehensive of all natures cannot fall short of the skill of art. Now all arts do inferior things for the sake of the superior, therefore the universal nature does so too. And indeed, hence is the origin of justice, and in justice the other virtues have their foundation. For justice will not be observed if we either care for different things or are easily deceived and careless and changeable. If the things do not come to you, the pursuits and avoidances of which disturb you, still in a manner you go to them. Let then your judgment about them be at rest, and they will remain quiet, and you will not be seen either pursuing or avoiding. The spherical form of the soul maintains its figure when it is neither extended towards any object, nor contracted inwards, nor dispersed, but is illuminated by light, by which it sees the truth of all things, and the truth that is in itself. Suppose any man shall despise me, let him look to that himself. But I will look to this, that I am not discovered doing or saying anything that deserves contempt. Shall any man hate me? Let him look to it. But I will be mild and benevolent towards every man, and ready to show him his mistake, not reproachfully, nor yet as making a display of my endurance, but nobly and honestly, unless indeed he only assumed it. For the inferior parts should to be such, and a man should to be seen by the gods neither dissatisfied with anything nor complaining. For what evil is it to you if you are now doing what is agreeable to your own nature, and are satisfied with that which at this moment is suitable to the nature of the universe, since you are a human being placed at your post in order that what is for the common advantage may be done in some way? Men despise one another and flatter one another, and men wish to raise themselves above one another and crouch before one another. How unsound and insincere is he who says, I have determined to deal with you in a fair way. What are you doing, man? There is no occasion to give this notice. It will soon show itself by acts. The voice should be plainly written on the forehead, such as man's character is. He immediately shows it in his eyes, just as he who is in love reads everything in the eyes of lovers. The man who is honest and good should be exactly like a man who smells strong, so that the bystander, as soon as he comes near him, must smell whether he chooses to or not. But the pretension of simplicity is like a crooked stick. Nothing is more disgraceful than a false friendship. Avoid this most of all. The good and simple and kind show all these things in the eyes, and there is no mistaking. As to living in the best way, this power is in the soul. If it be indifferent to things which are indifferent, and it will be indifferent if it looks on each of these things separately and altogether, and if it remembers that not one of them produces in us an opinion about itself, nor comes to us, but these things remain immovable, and it is ourselves who produce the judgments about them, and, as we say, write them in ourselves. It is in our power not to write them, and it is in our power, if by chance these judgments have imperceptibly got admission to our minds, to wipe them out. And if we remember also that such attention will only be for a short time, and then life will be at an end. Besides, what trouble is there at all in doing this? For if these things are according to nature, rejoice in them, and they will be easy to you. But if contrary to nature, seek what is uncomfortable to your own nature, and strive towards this, even if it brings no reputation, for every man is allowed to seek his own good. Consider when each thing is to come, and of what it consists, and into what it changes, and what kind of a thing it will be when it has changed, and that it will sustain no harm. If any have offended against you, consider first what is my relation to men, and that we are made for one another and to respect each other. I wasn't made to be set over them, as a ram over the flock or a bull over the herd. But examine the matter from first principles. From this, if all things are not mere atoms, it is nature which orders all things. If this is so, the inferior things exist for the sake of the superior, and those for the sake of one another. Second, consider what kind of men they are at the table, and so forth, and particularly under what compulsions in respect of opinions they are, and as to their acts, consider which with what pride they do what they do. Third, that if men do rightly what they do, we should not to be displeased. But if they don't do it right, it is plain that they do so involuntarily and in ignorance. For as every soul is unwillingly deprived of the truth, so also is it unwillingly deprived of the power of behaving to each man according to what he deserves. Accordingly, men are pained when they are called unjust, ungrateful, and greedy, and in a word, wrongdoers to their neighbors. Fourth, consider that you also do many things wrong, and that you are a man like others, and even if you abstain from certain faults, still you have the disposition to commit them, either through cowardice or concern about reputation or some such mean motive. Fifth, consider that you do not even understand whether men are doing wrong or not, for many things are done with a certain reference to circumstances. And in short, a man must learn a great deal to enable him to pass a correct judgment on another man's acts. Sixth, consider when you are vexed or grieved, that a man's life is only a moment, and after a short time we are all laid out dead. Seventh, that it is not men's acts which disturb us, for those acts have their foundation in men's ruling principles. But it is your own opinions which disturb us. Take away these opinions then, and resolve to dismiss your judgment about an act as if it were something grievous, and your anger is gone. How then shall I take away these opinions? By reflecting that no wrongful act of another brings shame on you, for unless that which is shameful is alone bad, you also must of necessity do many things wrong and become a robber and everything else. Eighth, consider how much more pain is brought on us by the anger and vexation caused by such acts than by the acts themselves at which we are angry and vexed. Ninth, consider that a good disposition is invincible if it is genuine and not a fake smile or an act. For what will the most violent man do to you if you continue to be of a kind disposition towards him, and if, as opportunity offers, you gently reprimand him and calmly correct his errors at the very time when he is trying to do you harm, saying, "My child, we are constituted by nature for something else. I shall certainly not be injured, but you are injuring yourself, my child," and show him with gentle tact and by general principles that this is so, and that even bees do not do as he does, nor any animals which are formed by nature to be fond of company. And you must do this neither with any double meaning nor in the way of reproach, but affectionately and without any bitterness in your soul, and not as if you were lecturing him, nor yet that any bystander may admire, but when he is alone. Remember these 9 rules as if you had received them as a gift from the Muses, and begin at last to be a man while you live. But you must equally avoid flattering men and being vexed at them, for both are unsocial and lead to harm. And let this truth be present to you in the excitement of anger, that to be moved by passion is not manly, but to be moved by mildness and gentleness, as they are more agreeable to human nature, so also are they more manly. And he who possesses these qualities possesses strength, nerves, and courage, and not the man who is subject to fits of passion and discontent. For in the same degree in which a man's mind is nearer to freedom from all passion, in the same degree also is it nearer to strength. And as the sense of pain is a characteristic of weakness, so also is anger. For he who yields to pain and he who yields to anger, both are wounded and both submit. But if you will, receive also a 10th present from the leader of the Muses, Apollo, and it is this, that you expect bad men not to do wrong, as is madness. For he who expects this desires an impossibility. But to allow men to behave so to others, and to expect them not to do you any wrong, is irrational and tyrannical. There are 4 principal departures from what is normal by the superior faculty, against which you should be constantly be on your guard, and when you have detected them, you should wipe them out and say on each occasion this thought is not necessary. This tends to destroy social union. This which you are going to say comes not from the real thoughts, for you should consider it among the most absurd of things for a man not to speak from his real thoughts. But the fourth is when you shall reproach yourself for anything, for this is an evidence of the diviner part within you being overpowered and yielding to the less honorable and to the perishable part, the body, and to its gross pleasures. Your aerial part and all fiery parts which are mingled in you by nature have an upward tendency, still in obedience to the disposition of the universe, which are overpowered here in the body. Water, though its tendency is downward, still can be raised up and occupy a position which is not a usual one. In this manner, then, the elemental parts obey the universal, for when they have been fixed in any place by force, they remain there until again the universal shall sound the signal for dissolution. Is it not then strange that your intelligent part only should be disobedient and discontented within its own place, and yet no force is imposed on it, but only those things which are conformable to its nature? Still, it does not submit, but is carried to the opposite direction. For the movement towards injustice and intemperance, and to anger and grief and fear, is nothing else than the act of one who deviates from nature. And also, when the ruling faculty is discontented with anything that happens, then too it deserts its posts. for it is constituted for religion and reverence towards the gods no less than for justice. For these qualities also are comprehended under the generic term of contentment with the constitution of things, and indeed they are prior to acts of justice. He who has not one and always the same object in life cannot be one and the same all through his life. But what I have said is not enough unless this also is added, what this object should be. For as there is not the same opinion about all the things which in some way or another or other are considered by the majority to be good, but only about some certain things, that is, things which concern the common interest, so also we should propose to ourselves an object which shall be of a common kind, social and political. For he who objects all his own efforts to this object will make all his acts alike, and thus will always be the same. Think of the country mouse and the town mouse, and of the alarm and fear of the town mouse. In the writings of the Ephesians, there was this precept constantly to think of some of the men of former times who practiced virtue. The Pythagoreans bid us in the morning look to the heavens, that we may be reminded of those bodies which continually do the same things and in the same manner perform their work, and also be reminded of their purity and nudity. For there is no there is no veil over a star. Consider that a man, Socrates, was when he dressed himself in a skin after Xanthippe had taken his cloak and gone out, and what Socrates said to his friends, who were ashamed of him and drew back from him when they saw him dressed this way. Neither in writing nor in reading will you be able to lay down rules for others before you shall have first learned to obey rules yourself. A slave you are. Free speech is not for you. And in my heart laughed within. Virtue they will curse, speaking harsh words. To look for the fig in winter is a madman's act. Such is he who looks for his child when it is no longer possible. When a man kisses his child, said Epictetus, he should whisper to himself, tomorrow by chance you will die. But those are words of bad omen. No word is a word of bad omen, said Epictetus. That which expresses any work of nature, or if it is so, it is also a word of bad omen to speak of the corn being reaped. The unripe grape, the ripe bunch, the dried grape are all changes, not into nothing, but into something which doesn't exist yet. No man can rob us of our free will. Epictetus also said, a man must discover an art or rules with respect to giving an assent, and in respect to his movements he must be careful that they be made with regard to circumstances, that they be consistent with social interests, that they have regard to the value of the object, and as to sensual desire, he should altogether keep away from it, and as to avoidance, he should not show it with respect to any of the things which are not in our power. The dispute, then, he said, is not about any common matter, but about being mad or not. Socrates used to say, what do you want? Souls of rational men or irrational? Souls of rational men, or of what rational men? sound or unsound sound. Why then do you not seek for them? Because we have them. Why then do you fight and quarrel? As we step back from Book 11, several powerful ideas begin to connect, forming a clear framework for living with greater intention. One of the most striking elements is the emphasis on responsibility, particularly in how we manage our inner world. Marcus does not allow room for blame or excuses, instead, directing attention towards what can be continued. This aligns with a principle that remains just as relevant today, taking full ownership of thoughts, actions, and responses creates a foundation for growth. Don't forget, people, Marcus Aurelius was the Roman emperor. He ruled the Roman Empire. So, strong words from a great leader. Another key point lies in the way he reframes interactions with others. Instead of reacting emotionally to difficult behavior, he encourages understanding, which transforms conflict into an opportunity for patience and self discipline. This approach not only preserves inner peace but also strengthens character over time. The discussion around speech invites further reflection, especially at an age where communication is constant and often impulsive. Considering whether words add value or simply fill space can lead to more meaningful conversations and stronger connections. There's also a profound lesson in the rejection of external validation. When actions are guided by principle rather than perception, a sense of independence develops, allowing for greater consistency and authenticity. This shift reduces the influence of praise or criticism, creating stability in how one operates. Time, as highlighted throughout the book, serves as a reminder of urgency. Delaying growth or postponing action becomes harder to justify when each moment is recognized as limited. This awareness encourages immediate effort, reinforcing the idea that progress begins now, not later. To bring these ideas into practical focus, consider the following. Where are you allowing distractions to take control of your attention? How do you typically respond to difficult people, and what could change with greater awareness? Are your words aligned with your values, or are they driven by impulse? To what extent does external opinion influence your decisions? And what actions can you take today that move you closer to the person you aim to become? These questions are not meant to be answered once and forgotten, but revisited regularly, serving as checkpoints for growth and for self correction. Book 11 does not offer comfort, it provides clarity, it removes illusion and replaces it with responsibility, creating an opportunity for transformation that depends entirely on whether the lessons are applied. So, if you have found value in this session, please act on it. Subscribe to Michael Reads, engage with the content, and make the commitment to return. Build consistency, apply these principles, take ownership of your own development. Progress is not accidental, it is created through deliberate effort repeated over time. So, thank you for being here and choosing to invest in your growth. Until the next session, keep reading, keep reflecting, and keep becoming. Thank you for joining me here on Michael Reads. Ta-da.